FC is back. This is episode 34. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. How did the weekend's fixtures across European football's top leagues? If you're like me right now, who is completely over international football, I know there was 3 months without it, but World Cup qualifying, my God, what a shambles. You got a berth in the World Cup. You get a berth in the World Cup. Everyone's going to the World Cup. I mean, World Cup qualifying has become a sham, so I'm embracing the return of domestic football this weekend. Jake Osgathorpe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'll be completely transparent. I took no notice of the international football whatsoever this last week and a half. I did not watch a single minute of international football.
Wow.
Nothing. I haven't watched anything. I had a clean break, reset, get ready for the just recharge. It's such a slog from the November international all the way through to this March international. You got what's that, 4 or 5 months of just non-stop football. So you just need a little recharge, get ready for the final stretch of the season, and then I don't even think I'll watch any internationals when it gets to June. To be honest, I think it's just such a bad spectacle.
Straight into the Club World Cup, straight into it. Going to embrace that.
All the buzz over here around Thomas Tuchel being England manager. And I'm like, the first game's like flipping Latvia and someone else rubbish.
I know.
It's just, they're going to win. You're not going to glean much from it. So, I just had a recharge, played a few rounds of golf and whatnot. Looking forward to getting stuck in. But we come back and we've got FA Cup. So we've got half the Premier League just on standby, basically. But we have got a lot of good games in Europe.
I'm just looking at the slate this weekend. Serie A, like, it's been the gift that keeps on giving. At least from a betting perspective, I'm looking forward to this weekend's calendar, which sometimes it's a little bit dicey coming back from the international break. It comes with its own series of unknowns, but we'll get into it. Just really quickly, here in Canada, it's like crisis mode. Alphonso Davies, ACL through injury. That could have a knock-on effect for Bayern Munich. Upamecano returns from international break injured as well. So there will be ramifications in terms of the club football. So let's dig into what the weekend will look like. Remember, all the markets that we use on this podcast, obviously courtesy of Pinnacle. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. We're at the quarterfinal stage of the FA Cup. Let's dig into the weekend slate. I know that you've kind of been steering away from betting on FA Cup football throughout the competition. Is there anything from the 4 games this weekend that catches your eye?
Yes, and while like you said, I've been steering well clear, but now we're at this stage when shit hits the fan. It's all hands on deck really, and you know what you're going to get from all the teams left in the competition. They're all going to try and win it, which means you can. There's no guessing of who's going to play, who's going to be rested. It's going to be full strength team versus full strength team, and I think that just means that, especially the games that are all Premier League ties, you can just assess them like the Premier League matches, really. Especially because they are, they're not at Wembley. It's not in that big cauldron that sucks the life out of the football. It's in general normal Premier League grounds. So I do think there is some value to be had, and I think starting on Saturday, Fulham versus Crystal Palace. I was very surprised that Crystal Palace are such big outsiders in this game. I thought it'd be a little bit closer in the betting, to be honest. Fulham at plus 138, Palace plus 218 to win, Palace plus 121 to qualify. That, for me, looks a cracking bet. There's a number of reasons why. I mean, the data for Crystal Palace has been absolutely sensational. They had such a slow start to the season. Injuries, trying to adjust to life after Lecce's sale, trying to figure out where that creativity is going to come from. And they've absolutely just romped in recent weeks. I don't think it's a coincidence that the back end of last season and what we're seeing at the back end of this season, it seems as though Glasner needs some time to figure out what his best 11 is, get his message across to his team, and they're finishing red hot. Like last season, they finished, they won 6 of the last 7 games last season. They won 7 of the 13 under Glasner. And this season, across the last 15 Premier League games, only Liverpool and Nottingham Forest have collected more points than Crystal Palace. So they've picked up an average of 2 points per game. And only those 2 teams have won more. So they've won 9 of 15 in that time. Obviously, that's against Premier League opponents. They've beaten lower league opposition in this competition. But based on the data as well, over the last 16 games, they've been the second best team for expected goal difference per game, the third best for expected points per game. And they've played Half of those games have come against teams in the top half as well. So it's not like they've had a complete cakewalk of a schedule. So I'm really impressed with them. I think that they're underestimated, undervalued in this tie. Fulham are a team I've really struggled to put my finger on all season long. The data's been saying one thing, and then as soon as you get them on side, they kind of lay an egg and don't really live up to that expectation. So I'm quite happy to oppose them. I know it's maybe people look at the league table and think, it's Fulham up there in battling for Champions League football. That could also be a bit of a distraction given this midweek round of Premier League. But yeah, I just like the look of Crystal Palace. They went there a couple of weeks ago, beat them 2-0. It was a very comfortable win as well, based on the data. And again, people might point to Fulham beating Crystal Palace earlier in the season, but Palace literally were... They resorted to playing Mark Gahey at centre midfield because they didn't have anybody fit. And Nathaniel Klein was playing centre half. So it was a real makeshift lineup for Crystal Palace. So pinch of salt with that one. Yeah, I think Palace to qualify is a cracking bet at plus 121. I also wouldn't put anybody off backing Palace to win the whole thing at plus 996. It may seem a bit of a stretch, but they've got Oliver Glasner in charge, a manager who's won a Europa League with Frankfurt, reached a DFB Pokal final. They lost that one in 22-23, but he's got pedigree. And if you look across the rest of the managers, like Nuno, Herzler, obviously Marco Silva, there's only Pep Guardiola who's got any sort of pedigree when it comes to winning cup competitions. And you could argue Man City have got the toughest, well, Emery as well, but City have got the toughest tie of the round, having to go to Bournemouth, and they're the current favourites. So if Palace get past Fulham, I do think they could reach the final, go all the way, especially when you look at their record against the teams that they could face in the next few rounds, because they combined against Brighton, City, Bournemouth, Villa and Forest this season, they've only lost once of 7, which I think is really impressive and does show that they are capable of mixing it with anybody should they get through to the semis and finals. So a bit of a long shot play at plus 996 for Palace to win the FA Cup, but it wouldn't be a massive surprise, and they're playing some great football.
Brilliant. The Crystal Palace deep dive here on Pinnacle FC. Just for also the away match against Fulham at Craven Cottage. If you want to back them outright to win the game in 90 minutes, that's the difference between to qualify versus winning in 90 minutes, plus 218. Get them on the handicap, a quarter of a goal at minus 115 as well, all available on Pinnacle. I think I'm approaching things in a little bit of a similar situation to you in terms of finding some really, really good value into qualify. I mean, my only play in the FA Cup this weekend, Brighton and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest to qualify is at plus 212. I had to double check that because I honestly thought it might have been a mistake. Now, look, Brighton are a very good side. They're on really good form. They haven't lost a game in 7. But Forest has continually pressed on and been a very good side this season as well. They've won 3 in a row, no losses in their last 4. In terms of penalties, and if it does go to penalties, they've already won twice in this competition on pens against Exeter and Ipswich. And head-to-head, they already beat Brighton. They smashed them last time they played 7-0. At plus 212, I get the argument if someone wants to make Brighton the favorite in this one, but Forest are way too far out for me at plus 212. I'm betting the number there because this is a game that Forest can absolutely win outright. What do you make of that number? It doesn't seem, it seems a little fishy to me.
100% agree. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's very, very bizarre pricing. The team that are third in the Premier League that have lost just or that have avoided defeat in 10 of the 15 away games against Premier League opposition this season. So they've won 8 of those. Like they're a good travelling team. They're absolutely flying when it comes to the Premier League football. They've had Brighton's number. And they score a lot of goals away from home as well. I think that goes under the radar a little bit. That while it might be viewed as a defensive team, they've scored 26 times in 15 away games against Premier League opponents, so an average of 1.73 per game. I fully expect them to be able to score a couple of goals here. And yet, like you said, the pricing just looks really, really odd. Even if it was similar to the Fulham Crystal Palace pricing, I still would think that's a little bit disrespectful. And it should probably be closer to maybe plus 180 for Forest, plus 145 for Brighton on the day. And yeah, I think I've not watched Brighton closely enough in recent weeks since since they got smacked by Forest, just to see if have been any small tactical tweaks. I think the schedule's been fairly kind. I know they've had on paper played Man City and Chelsea, but how much can we read into those games, given how bad Chelsea have been and how bad Man City have been?
Sorry,
yeah,
Jake.
I'm with you all the way.
The notable thing about Brighton is they got some players back from injury. Welbeck's back leading the line. He's in decent form. There's good depth up there. With Hinchelwood, like players like that have come back into the team, so they're a little bit deeper. But still, Forest don't really have any injury issues of their own. I think there was a minor concern around Chris Wood, but I think that's about it. I think he's likely to play this weekend. So yeah, plus 212 is just, it's an automatic play for me just based on the number and the number alone. Anything else from either one of the other two fixtures, Preston, North End, Villa, or Bournemouth, Man City?
Yeah, I think we've got to back Bournemouth. Again, you can get them at a plus money to qualify. I wouldn't put anybody off that. I'll be taking them on the handicap at plus a quarter of a goal. I'm staggered they're not favourites, to be honest, to put it bluntly. It might sound crazy that I think Bournemouth should be favourites for a home game against Manchester City, but ultimately they've been a better team all season long than Manchester City on the underlying data. They've averaged plus 0.5 expected goal difference per game compared to City's plus 0.42, and City away from home have really struggled just all season. Their process of plus 0.07 expected goal difference per game is really, really poor compared to the usual standards. And if you look back since October, where obviously it's the time that Rodri's been out injured, they've lost 11 of 17 away games across all competitions. They've won just 4 in that time, and the 4 wins have come against Leicester, Ipswich, Leyton Orient, and Tottenham. And I would argue that Bournemouth are by far better team than anyone that I've just mentioned there. The Cherries are full fitness as well. They welcome back players from suspension. Obviously, was it Zabrani that's back alongside Huijsen now, so they're solid at the back. They've got Evanlison back fit at the top as well, so they can rotate if they need to. City compared are still missing some key cogs. Stones, Ake, Akanji, and obviously Rodri, they're all absent, which means that the pressure is going to be on, the young defensive lad Kushinov again alongside Diaz, and I think he could have a hard time here because Bournemouth are just a pure chaos team, aren't they? They just get the ball forward and just swarm, and I think it could be a real problem for him in particular. And Bournemouth won this fixture comfortably in the earlier on in the season, and I'm just staggered that we're getting such a big price on Bournemouth. Really, similar thoughts to Forest Brighton. The price just stands out as Peter's looking wrong, and again, probably putting too much respect on Manchester City with the name because they haven't performed anywhere near worthy of this kind of pricing.
All right, are you making a clean sweep? 4 FA Cup games, 4 bets?
No. I wouldn't put anybody off backing Villa on the handicap because I think that they'll be well too strong for Preston. I mean, I've been staggered by how seriously Emery's taken this competition, given the balance in the league and the Champions League. He's been playing full strength team every single round, even though they played West Ham and Cardiff. I expect him to do the same here because they'll look at what Newcastle did the other week and think that this is a great opportunity for them to win some silverware. They've not had silverware for years at Aston Villa, and the squad that they've now got, they can balance weekend football. And they'll look at, I mean, they've had a very kind run to get to this stage. And if you get past Preston, you're in a semi-final and absolutely anything can happen. And we know what Emery's like when it comes to one-off football matches. So, I think Aston Villa could comfortably beat Preston. And the handicap at minus 1.25 did tempt me, but no official play on that one.
Okay, that's your FA Cup weekend covered. There are Premier League fixtures midweek next week. We'll get to react to them on next week's podcast and look forward to the following weekend. Let's move to La Liga. We're recording this podcast on a Wednesday. La Liga kicks off on Thursday, which is very difficult for some of the players returning from international duty to feature. It's Barcelona and Osasuna. This is a game that's being made up, one of 2 fixtures that need to be made up. Hansi Flick, the Barcelona manager, has already said that Araujo and Rafinha will not play against Osasuna, saying, quote, "The journey is too long and they need rest." On top of that, I wonder who else may not be included for Barcelona in this fixture because they play Girona away on Sunday and they play in the Copa del Rey on Wednesday. 3 games in 7 days. That Copa del Rey fixture, a big one against Atlético Madrid as well. We should also mention Osasuna, the team that they do play at Bilbao on Sunday. But I'm looking Osasuna on the handicap plus a goal in 3/4 at -110. I have to make that play. Osasuna won the last time they played Barcelona. It was a 4-2 final. They also drew Real Madrid the last time that they played, and they haven't lost by more than a goal in their last 14 in La Liga. Osasuna plus a goal in 3/4. Based upon the context here, it seems a great bet to make this weekend, where Barcelona will probably just try to manage this game and see it out based upon the road ahead. Flick is right. The journey is a difficult one, so I'll back Osasuna on the handicap in this one.
Yeah, interesting. While you were talking there, I was thinking, who could they replace Rafinha with? Maybe Dani Olmo or Ferran Torres. Obviously not as good as Rafinha, not going to give you as much, but still very good players. And those kind of players might see it as an opportunity to try and force the way into the lineup for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I think Barcelona are just a scary proposition to oppose when it comes to handicaps, because they can light you up at any minute. We've seen them score 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're a brave man, Gareth Wheeler. I'll give you that.
Why is he? Why? Like I honestly, does Lamine Yamal start? I mean, Rafinha, like, honestly, has been one of the top players across European football this season. I like
Ballon d'Or favorite at the moment.
if you're playing Olmo or Ferran Torres, like, I get they're good players, but what Rafinha is doing right now is next level stuff. Okay, and when you take him out of an 11, there's going to be an impact, and they're not even available off the bench. So I think Barcelona need to manage this game. It's not about running away with it. So the context here says back Osasuna.
Do you have any other La Liga plays? Because I
I
struggle
do.
to find any sorts of value.
Well, the only other game of value, Getafe is on really good form right now, by the way. 4-0-2 in their last 6. And a team that looked like they never score a goal is now finding the back of the net. Both teams to score have actually played in 4 of their last 5. They've gone over in 4 of their last 5 as well, and no clean sheets for Getafe in 5. They play Villarreal, who've had a very good season, especially away from home. I like both teams to score. It's at a big old number at plus 103. I was surprised by that. Getafe at home, 12 goals scored, 9 conceded in 14, which those numbers aren't very good. But their XG is almost 4 goals higher, and their expected goals against is almost 6 goals higher as well. Villarreal have played to both teams to score in 5 of 7. They have 20 away goals scored and 17 conceded. And their numbers, the metrics are even higher. Their XG away from home is 26 goals. And by the way, head-to-head between these two sides, both teams to score have played in 3 of their last 4. So I like that at plus 103. I'll back that this weekend as well. I'm tempted to play the over in Espanyol and Atlético Madrid. Over 2.25 at minus 107. Atleti's been an overside. They can score with the best of them. Head-to-head, they played. Both teams to score in 6 of 7. Just because of where the total is set, rather than having a whole lot of faith in Espanyol. So, not an official play there, but a strong lean to the over in that game. So just the 2 plays in La Liga this weekend. Nothing else. Nothing's making your board this weekend, Jake.
Nothing. No, I toyed with quite a few. Celta -1 handicap on the Monday was something I looked at, but ended up deciding against it because they haven't won by a 2-goal margin very often at home. Same with Bilbao, and also soon have the midweek game, but they went there in the Copa and beat Bilbao, so that put me off straight away. I was also looking at making a pro Mallorca play at Valencia, because Mallorca have climbed up to 7th. They're in very good form, but Valencia have been very strong at home since Corberan took charge. So yeah, I just ended up settling on just no bet, just leaving it alone and focusing instead on Serie A.
Let's focus some time there, because it looks to be an enticing weekend across Italian football. We have a new manager in Juventus, Thiago Motta out. Oh, man, it didn't work. That's a disappointment. Tudor is in. I'm not going to touch the game Juventus against Genoa this weekend, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4 other plays in Serie A this weekend. What are you looking at, Jake?
I mean, my favourite bet of the entire week is Roma.
Yeah.
to beat Lecce
Agreed. Agreed.
is absolutely bonkers price. Minus 114. I expected minus 135, maybe even shorter than that, because yeah, they had a slow start under Ranieri, but they've been absolutely incredible recently. I mean, across all competitions during his 27 games in charge, they've won 16 and drawn 5, lost just 6. 4 of those defeats came against good opponents as well: Napoli, Atalanta, Milan, Bilbao. Domestically, they've won 11 of 17 Serie A matches, lost just 3. 2 of those came in his first 2 games in charge as well. So it's 11 wins in the last 15 Serie A matches. They've actually climbed, absolutely flown up the table to the Champions League contention, just 4 points behind fourth place Bologna, who, let's give them some credit as well. After the season that they, the start of the season they had, losing the manager, losing all the players, up to fourth themselves after a good run. But Roma are just 4 points behind them, 3 points behind Juventus in fifth, and 2 points behind Lazio in sixth. So they're absolutely motoring up the table, and Lecce are just at the opposite end. They're really struggling. They're just 3 points above the drop zone, lost 4 straight, winless in 6. They failed to beat Monza in that team side as well. Monza have just been whooped by everybody. And in total, they've lost 8 of their last 13, lost 4-1 in the reverse as well. And the clincher for me is that I think we can both agree that in Serie A this season, there's a very clear divide between the top 10 or 11 teams and the bottom 10 or 9, depending on where you want to draw the line. It's just a very, very clear divide. And whenever Lecce have played against teams currently in the top half, so they've had 15 times they've played against teams in the top half, they're yet to win, and they've lost 13 of those 15. So I fully expect this to be another one, because Roma are absolutely flying. And yet, like I said, Lecce, it's even worse for them when you look at the data. They're 3 points above the drop zone, 4 or 5 places off the bottom, but they're the second worst team in Serie A when you look at the data. Second fewest expected points, second most expected goals conceded, and the second fewest expected goals created. So bad team meet good team, but yet good team is a backable price.
Lecce have failed to score in 3 of their last 4 games at home. Roma, meanwhile, like you mentioned, the 6 wins in a row. Over the last 12 games in Serie A, 9-3-0. They have 5 more points over that 12-game span than anyone else in the league. And they already beat Lecce 4-1 in the reverse fixture. So minus 114, it's the best bet of the week on my board as well. So we agree on that.
You can get a smidge more value, minus 113 for Roma on the handicap. It's the same bet, but it's a slightly better price. But I love that bet. And I also love the look of over 2.5 in the Atalanta Fiorentina game.
Same
plus
bet.
101.
Same bet. Go ahead.
We started the season and we were getting these kind of prices about Atalanta overs, and then it went up. The line went up to 3.25. And for some reason for this game, it's come back down to 2.5, and it's a plus number. Yeah, I don't quite understand why. It's a big game for both teams. They both need to win the game, which should mean it's quite open. Fiorentina, they're only 3 points behind 6th. They've had a couple of wins in a row. They're back competing again for European football. Atalanta were beaten by Inter last time out, which means they're 6 points off the top. But, anything can happen. You've got to keep winning if you want to have a chance. They're away from home. 9 of their 15 have gone over 2.5, including all the last 4. They scored 16 times in those last 4 as well, just themselves. So they are absolutely flying in terms of goals. Those away matches are averaging 3.4 expected goals per game as well. And Fiorentina have got over 2.5 in 10 of 15, including 5 of the last 8. So, yeah, very surprised to see this kind of line, especially just with Atalanta involved, really. But when you add in the context, it seems odd.
A lot of goals in Fiorentina home matches, 26 and 15 in 15 games. And the XG falls right in line with those numbers as well. Should also mention these two sides have played to a 3-2 result in back-to-back fixtures. 2.5 seems too low, plus 101. Yeah, same play. Anything else, Jake?
No, that was it for me. Okay. I was tempted to get Bologna on side at Venezia at minus 115, but Venezia drawn a lot of games recently, so Bologna. So I was quite happy to leave that alone. They were my 2 favourite plays from Serie A.
Okay, I'll go through 2 really quickly. I'll back Como at minus 128 against Empoli. Obviously, right near the bottom of the table in Serie A. But more importantly, Empoli's season is on the line. I don't think they can save themselves, but they play in the Coppa Italia next week. That has to be a significant priority for them ahead of this weekend fixture. By the way, Empoli 0-2-8 in their last 10, the worst form in Serie A right now. Como 2-1-3 in their last 6 at home, but 5 of those games came against Napoli, Juventus, Atalanta, Udinese, and AC Milan. So 5-4-5. They beat teams like Empoli at home on the season, and at -28, I'll back them here. And I'll take the under in Inter and Udinese, under 2.5 at +104. Inter have gone under 6 of their last 8 in all comps. Udinese under in 5 of their last 6 in all comps. Again, Inter play in the Coppa Italia on Wednesday. They play against AC Milan. It's a huge game for them. I think it's one of those where they just need to manage. This game screams 1-0, 2-0. It has it written all over it. Inter being an overside at home, but under away. I think we see the reverse this time around. I like backing the under, especially at a nice juicy number, under 2.5 at +104. Let's move forward and wrap things up with the Bundesliga this weekend. A couple games getting my attention. What about you?
Yeah, a couple as well. Freiburg to beat Union Berlin at +104.
Same one. Same play.
Automatic. Yeah. It's a bit of a boring podcast for the listeners.
Yeah,
we're agreeing on everything. Hopefully that means good things if we're on the same lines. But yeah, Freiburg at home are just almost an automatic play. 8 wins from 12. And yeah, the games that they failed to win recently have been Leipzig in a 0-0 draw, Bayern Munich 2-1 defeat, Union Berlin picked up a little bit, winning a draw in the last 2, but away from home on the season, it's not been great. 8 defeats in 13. So I'm more than happy to get involved in Freiburg and their quest for European football.
Yeah, Union Berlin, one of the worst 5 away sides in terms of expected points. They've been smashed by both Dortmund and St. Pauli in recent games away from home as well. They've been the first to concede in 5-5 in Freiburg. I mean, only 2 home losses all season. One to Bayern Munich. The other one, it was a shock result back in September to St. Pauli. Other than that, I mean, they're in form. They're second in the form table over the last 6 games as well. So, that's a play that's making my card as well. Anything else for you in Germany?
Yeah, also on the Sunday, just Mainz on the handicap, +3/4. Same bet again.
Same bet. They're my team. They're my team.
Go on.
No, Mainz has been. I've said. I think I say this on every podcast. They've been my most profitable team to back across Europe this season. I don't get it. They're 4-2-0 in their last 6, which is the best form in the Bundesliga. Good away record, 7-2-4. Mainz haven't lost to Dortmund in their last 4 games. Mainz beat Dortmund 3-1 earlier this season, and Dortmund 1-2-2 in their last 5 at home in all competitions. Like, this Dortmund side, although they're alive in the Champions League, the stellar home form that they typically have season in, season out, it hasn't played over the course of 24-25, has it? So you're giving me Mainz at 3/4 of a goal at near even money? Like, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if Mainz came away with a result in this game, just outright. So yeah, it's a no-brainer for me, Jake.
Yeah, exactly the same. In Dortmund, the home form on paper overall has been steady. 7 wins in 13, 3 defeats, but 2 of those, all three of those defeats have come within the last 5 home matches. So, yeah, there are signs that home form is just the wheels are falling off it a little bit. And let's just re-emphasize the fact that Dortmund are 11th in the Bundesliga table. Yep. 11. It's Mainz not like we're talking
Mainz
about
is third.
Mainz
deservedly so too.
Yeah, there's a 10-point gap between the two, and yeah, the way it's going. I mean, Dortmund, they're going to need to win the Champions League to get into Europe next season. So, yeah, it's looking bleak for them, and yeah, I mean, even Augsburg are going there and beating them. They lost to Bochum and Leipzig, who have not been in great shape. So, yeah, just the prices, and to get 3/4 of goal as well is even better.
Yeah. One other mention for me, Hoffenheim, Augsburg, you just mentioned them. Hoffenheim is a considerable favorite to this game. This is another match where I'm just following the number. I'll take Augsburg on the 0 handicap, so the draw no bet at +123. Hoffenheim they've really struggled. They're in 14th on the season. They have the 4th worst home expected point total, 15.2 and 13, and haven't won in their last 5 at home in all competitions. Augsburg's played competitive football, haven't lost in the last 6. In fact, haven't conceded a goal over the last 6 games as well, and haven't lost in their last 5 away, 3-2-0. I'm betting not because I love this side, but they've been on some good form, and the number just tells me that I think I'm actually getting the better team at a plus number with the insurance of a draw and you get your money back. So that's my third and final play in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same lines as well. I mean, Augsburg, their good form stretches further. I mean, they're unbeaten in 10 Bundesliga matches, which is pretty remarkable. They've conceded in just 2 of those 10 as well. So they are the form team in the Bundesliga. 6 wins in that time. Only Bayern Munich have collected more points, but they're the only ones that haven't been beaten. And they've conceded just 2 goals in those 10 matches. So they are absolutely flying. And yeah, Hoffenheim, they'll be looking over their shoulder nervously because, Bochum started picking up a few points. Obviously, Heidenheim got a big win last time out as well to close the gap somewhat. So, yeah, could be a bit shaky for them. But yeah, I'm with you. Augsburg are the value in that one for sure.
Just to wrap up, anything else, or should we get to our best bets of the weekend?
Let's go best bet.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Roma to beat Lecce. We'll take the minus half a goal handicap just for that slightly better price at minus 113. My second favourite bet is Bournemouth to qualify against Manchester City at plus 113. And then I'm going to be taking the over 2.5 goals in Fiorentina Atalanta as number 3 at plus 101.
Okay, I'll follow your lead with the Roma, and I'll also take the minus 113 because why not? Mainz at Dortmund, 3/4 of a goal on the handicap at minus 101. And I'll take Nottingham Forest to qualify at a big old number at plus 212. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast, tell your friends. We'll be back to do it all again next week. On behalf of Jake, I am Wheels, and this has been episode 34 of Pinnacle FC.